Chapter 681. After the beast tide retreated, the tribes cheered and started to divide the meat. When the meat was distributed, the other two tribes didn't intend to leave. Because of this, the three tribes started to have conflicts. The conflict was triggered by Ning Luo. The other two chiefs took a liking to Ning Luo for some reason. One of the chiefs was from the Eagle tribe and was called Mingjiu. He was one of Ning Luo's future mates. As for the other one, he was just a small character. Because gains went out, He Lang bumped into another chief who wanted to force Ning Luo to leave gains and be his mate. Of course, Ning Luo wasn't willing. One of the reasons was that the chief was really ugly. Mingjiu also took a liking to Ning Luo and said that if Ning Luo was willing, she could be his mate. As long as she agreed, he would help her and ensure her safety. He was taking advantage of her. He Lang happened to see this and saved the weak Ning Luo. Naturally, Ning Luo had a good impression of He Lang after he helped her a few times. She blamed herself but couldn't help but think about how well He Lang treated her. She was in a dilemma. Tang Guo read the gossip all day and planned her days. Occasionally, she would chat with Olga about some interesting things. Her days were pretty good. Next, the conflict between the three tribes started. The cause was Ning Luo. Originally, the ugly chief wanted to join forces with Mingjiu to deal with the Lado tribe and chase them out. Unexpectedly, Mingjiu suddenly turned against them and joined forces with He Lang to chase them out. What was even more unbelievable was that Mingjiu was willing to join the Lado tribe and become their deputy chief. Under such circumstances, Ning Luo enjoyed the care of Gaines, He Lang, Mingjiu and Aimo every day. But other than Gaines, the other three were still in an ambiguous relationship. Ning Luo couldn't accept this yet. There was only one day left before Olga was supposed to die. Tang Guo hugged the dried fruit and found Olga's cave residence. Olga was making new shoes for her two mates. Although Olga was a very proud female, she was also very clever with her hands. Perhaps it had something to do with her love for beauty. Agwagwa, don't you like to sleep in your residence? Why are you here? Olga asked. Tang Guo sat beside Olga. To make shoes for you and Miku Mill. Yeah, their shoes are all worn out. I'm going to make more for them. Tang Guo smiled. Do you plan to go out soon? Where? Agwagwa, did you find something fun? No. Tang Guo shook her head. She picked up a piece of dried fruit and fed it to Olga. I just wanted to talk to you. It's really strange that Agwagwa would take the initiative to chat with me. Olga's expression was strange. The high priest has been gone for a long time. Agwagwa, don't tell me you want to talk about the high priest with me. She wasn't worried about Yinyao. He wouldn't be in any danger. Tang Guo didn't beat around the bush and directly said, don't go out tomorrow. Whether it's you, Mick, or Miller, you have to stop them from going out. Understand? Olga blinked. She didn't understand. But seeing how serious Tang Guo was, she felt that she should trust her. This was Agwagwa, her friend and the smartest female. Okay, I'll listen to you. When Miku and Miku Mill come back, I'll tell them to ask for leave from the chief tomorrow. Chapter 682. The next day finally arrived. When Ning Luo heard that the tribesmen were going out, she suggested that they were going to find something useful that only she could recognize. He Lang agreed. Gaines, Imo, and Mingjiu were worried about her, so they followed her. Originally, Mirmik was also supposed to go out hunting, but because Tang Guo had instructed Olga, Olga asked them to stay with her for the day. These two orcs were obedient to Olga, and their words were more effective than the words of their leader. They hurriedly asked Black Wolf for leave. He Lang thought that with Gaines, Imo, and Ming Zhou around, there shouldn't be any problems, so he agreed. Dear Ollie, you don't expect us to do nothing but sit in the lodgings with you all day and watch you sew, said Mick. Mick couldn't help but say, at least we can go out and find some food so that we can have a good winter. We still have to plan for next year. Maybe we'll have cubs next year. With that, his face was filled with a happy smile. Ollie knocked him on the head. What are you thinking about? What cubs? Guagua said that I'm a little princess and it's not time to have cubs yet. Yes, Ollie is right. Then Ollie, you should tell us why we're staying, right? Mick asked eagerly. Ollie looked outside. Mick tactfully went out to take a look. He walked in and said softly, Ollie, I've checked. No one's here. Tell us. Guagua told us not to go out today. The two brothers looked at each other with surprise in their eyes. Was it Guagua? That female who always liked to sit on a rock outside and eat dried fruits with a smile on her face was also Ollie's good friend. The two brothers were actually foxes. Not only were they strong, but they were also very smart. They didn't think that Guagua told them not to go out for no reason. There must be a reason. Seeing that Ollie didn't care, they didn't choose to tell her that their Ollie was very innocent. She just needed to live happily and let them deal with the troubles. But after thinking for a long time, they still couldn't figure out why Tangua stopped them from going out. In the afternoon, the members of the tribe came back one after another. They were all in a mess. The two brothers looked at each other. Something had happened. They hurriedly ran out and asked about the situation. Only then did they know that the members of the tribe had walked to a strange place and somehow got separated. Imo had returned with Ming Zhou. There were still quite a few members left, including their chief, Black Wolf, and Ning Luo gone. The entire tribe fell into a state of panic. Mi Er and Mi Ku were the most shocked. They quietly left the crowd and walked back to the cave. Seeing that no one else was paying attention to them, they began to discuss in low voices. Is a Guagua a prophet? If not, why would she stop us from going out today? The two brothers were confused. No matter how smart they were, they couldn't figure it out. Mill. When the two brothers heard Tangua's voice, they stiffly turned around. Feeling that she was alone, they heaved a sigh of relief. They were a little hesitant, but if they didn't solve the puzzle, they would feel uncomfortable. Agogwa, Mick said. Could you have predicted what happened today? Tangua waved at the two brothers. When they came closer, she said with a profound expression, I only dreamt of a voice last night. It told me to tell my best friend Ollie and her family not to go out. I don't know anything else. The system's host was a fraud again. Other than this, there's another important thing that I wanted to tell you. Chapter 683. The members of the tribe were all panicking. He Lang was the strongest warrior in the tribe and the high priest was out. If something happened to the tribe, they really didn't know what to do. As the members of the tribe worried, the sun went down and the sky gradually darkened. He Lang brought a few injured members back to the tribe. He looked fine, just a little battered. Some of the others were injured, but fortunately, it wasn't serious. When He Lang heard that Gain and Ning Luo hadn't returned yet, his face darkened. Seeing that the sky was already dark, he actually planned to go out and look for them. This time, Imo, Ming Zhou, and the other members of the tribe also felt that they had to find Ning Luo. They all thought that Ning Luo was very important and agreed. Thus, He Lang brought a group of people out to look for them. It's already so late. Isn't the chief afraid that something will happen? Olga couldn't help but ask. The beast tide just passed not long ago. It's a dangerous time now. What if we go out at night? Luckily, Mick and Mill were not chosen by Hei Lang because they looked thin and weak. Olga remembered that when she brought Mill and Mick back, she told Agwagwa that they were very strong. However, Agwagwa told her that Mill and Mick shouldn't appear so strong. Olga didn't understand that they weren't chosen by Hei Lang to look for Ning Luo at night. She was really glad that she warned Mill and Mick. Mick said, "The chief looks very worried about Ning Luo." "It's not just the chief. AIMO and the deputy chief are also very worried about her," Mill continued. They remembered that Agwagwa stopped them in the afternoon and told them some things that they didn't understand. Seeing Olga's innocent look, they thought that as Olga's best friend, Agwagwa should trust her. If it wasn't for Agwagwa's reminder today, they might have encountered some unavoidable danger. In short, they remembered what Agwagwa told them and decided to do as they were told. That's really strange. What's so good about Ning Luo that everyone has to worry about her? Olga pursed her lips. They even have to risk their lives. She's still as annoying as before. Facing such a straightforward Olga, Mill and Mick decided to bury their secret with Agwagwa in their hearts so that it wouldn't cause Olga trouble. That night, the tribe was noisy and noisy. Tangguo was woken up by the noise many times. She walked out of the cave and saw a bonfire outside. The tribe members sat around the bonfire. "Let's hope Ning Luo and Gon are fine." "Yes, Ning Luo is the smartest female I've ever seen. It's a pity that I'm not a powerful warrior. Otherwise, I would want to be Ning Luo's mate." Basically, all the male beast men had the same idea. Black Wolf didn't bring many people out, only about 13 of them, but he had already taken away the strongest warriors of the tribe. Although the female orc also said that she hoped that Ning Luo would return safely, she didn't seem to be that sincere. "Agwagwa, are you also worried about Ning Luo?" When Aie saw Tangguo coming out, she hurriedly sat beside her and muttered softly, "Agwagwa is clearly the smartest female in the tribe. Why did everyone misunderstand?" Tangguo glanced at Aie, then lowered her eyes, and a cold smile appeared on her face. She was one of the participants in Agwagwa's tragedy, and she really played a key role. However, Aie's fate was also very tragic. Chapter 684. Agwagwa, don't you think it's a good thing if Ning Luo really doesn't come back? Aie continued to whisper. That way, no one will steal your limelight. You will be the smartest female in the tribe. Aie, how can you say that? Aie didn't expect Tangguo to suddenly stand up and look at her angrily. Aie, we don't know what danger Ning Luo will encounter. She brought so many changes to our tribe. How can you say that it's better if she never comes back? Aie, even if you like Gain and want to be Gain's spouse, you shouldn't curse Ning Luo so viciously. Tangguo's angry look was very realistic. All the members looked at her and didn't doubt her words at all. They all looked at Aie angrily. Was Aie really cursing Ning Luo to never come back? I'm Agwagwa, you. Aie was a little flustered. She wanted to say something to salvage the situation, but Tangguo didn't give her a chance. Did you just say that Ning Luo won't come back? Aie felt all the members looking at her. She was getting more and more flustered. It was obvious that she had said those words. She really didn't expect Agwagwa to have such a big reaction when she said that Ning Luo wouldn't come back. Why was this Agwagwa so stupid? She actually spoke so loudly, as if she was afraid that others couldn't hear her. Ning Luo taught you how to make shoes and taught the members of the tribe to recognize all kinds of spices and edible wild vegetables. Aie, how can you be so ungrateful and curse her at this time? Tangguo looked at the members present and said loudly, I believe that the members of the Lato tribe are all grateful. After receiving the kindness, we definitely won't forget it and won't have such vile thoughts. The members nodded and quickly discussed. They were the most grateful and would always remember Ning Luo's kindness to them. Therefore, they would never have such vile thoughts. I heard that once you do something ungrateful, the gods will punish you severely. Tang Guo's face was holy, which made the members present respect her. They couldn't help but agree. I believe that you are just being frank and don't have any bad thoughts. In the future, don't say such vicious words. Ning Luo is kind to you. In order to prevent the gods from punishing you, I hope you can turn over a new leaf and not have such selfish thoughts. Even if you like gains, you can't hate Ning Luo because of this. Yes, I hope you can be a kind female and stop cursing Ning Luo with vicious words. Otherwise, the gods will punish you. That's right. Ning Luo has brought us countless benefits and changed our way of life. We can drink delicious meat soup every day. You're wrong about this. Aie stood in the center, receiving the gazes and accusations of the entire tribe. His face was burning red. She bit her lip and looked at them. She couldn't even explain it. The problem was, she really said those words. Chapter 685. The next morning, He Lang brought the exhausted members back to the tribe. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief when they saw that they weren't injured. Ning Luo and Gain hadn't returned yet and they were feeling more and more hopeless. Especially the three males who had designs on Ning Luo. They were all very quiet. "I'll eat something and fly up to find Luo Luo," Ming Chiu said. He was from the Eagle tribe and could fly very high. He had flown very far yesterday, but because it was night time, there might be some places that he didn't find. He Lang nodded. "Okay. Inform us as soon as you have any news." Imo was a little worried. "I hope Gain can protect Luo Luo." The three of them looked at each other and made a decision. They had to protect Ning Luo together so that this wouldn't happen again. Back then, He Lang had chosen to plot slowly because of his friendship with Gaines. Now, he didn't know if Ning Luo could return safely. If she came back alive, he wouldn't choose to stay put. He would ask Gaines to have Ning Luo together. He would only understand her importance when he was about to lose her. Imo and Ming Jiu thought the same. In the afternoon, the worried Ning Luo and Gaines returned. At the same time, Gaines was carrying a heavily injured male beastman on his back. Ning Luo looked at the heavily injured beastman and tears streamed down his face. He even held the beastman's hand as he jogged with Gaines into the tribe. "Is the high priest back?" Ning Luo saw Tang Gua in the crowd and rushed forward to grab her. "Agugua, is the high priest back? Hurry up and ask the high priest to come out and save Vigo. Vigo's injuries are very serious. He looks like he's about to cry. I don't want Vigo to die. I want Vigo to live." Tang Gua was too embarrassed to continue chewing on the dried fruit in her mouth. She held her breath and swallowed the remaining piece of dried fruit. Then, she said, "The high priest didn't come back." She glanced at Vigo who was lying on the wooden plank and looked pitiful. "He looks like he's about to die." This stinky snake was the most annoying. According to the storyline, it was because this stinky snake was too sensitive that it ruined Yi Niao's plan. He was also the one who severely injured Yi Niao. Tang Gua secretly thought that it would be better if he died. But obviously, the male lead also had a halo. Even if he was one of the male leads, it was impossible for him to die so easily. "No, Vigo won't die." "How can he die?" Ning Luo cried loudly on Vigo's body. Tang Gua didn't want to remind him because it would aggravate his injury. Ning Luo said sadly to Vigo, as long as you wake up, I'll accept you and forget everything in the past. Vigo, what do you say? This time, Gain didn't stop him. If it wasn't for Vigo's sudden appearance, he and Ning Luo would have been dead. Vigo had killed the beast, but the beast had also taken away most of Vigo's life. When the members of the tribe heard this, they didn't like the snake tribe that much. However, Vigo had saved Ning Luo, so he was a warrior. Why don't we find some herbs for Vigo to use first? Aie looked at Vigo's handsome face. Even if he was seriously injured, it still couldn't hide his powerful halo. Although the high priest isn't here, a Guoguo often picks herbs with the high priest. She definitely knows a lot of herbs. Although Ning Luo knew some herbs, she only knew some simple ones like clearing heat and detoxifying. She didn't know any herbs for healing. Chapter 686. Tang Guo was stared at by Ning Luo's red eyes. Ning Luo ran in front of Tang Guo and knelt down. Guo, please save Vigo. I know you don't like me and blame me for stealing your limelight. I really didn't do it on purpose and didn't want to steal your limelight. As long as you're willing to save Vigo, I'll take him away from the tribe when he recovers. As soon as she finished speaking, the way all the members looked at Tang Guo changed. It was as if she didn't choose to save Vigo because she hated Ning Luo. Aie seemed to have found an opportunity. Guo, didn't you say that Ning Luo is our tribe's benefactor? Now she wants you to help save Vigo. You won't refuse, right? I didn't say I wouldn't help. Tang Guo glanced at Ning Luo strangely. Who did you hear that from? I hate you. Ning Luo wiped her tears. Aren't there rumors among the members of the tribe? Otherwise, why would a Guoguo ignore her? She must hate her. Before she came, a Guoguo was the little princess of the tribe. When she came, she attracted a lot of attention. It wasn't strange that a Guoguo hated her. I don't hate you, Tang Guo said without changing her expression. Do you want me to save him? Yes. Guoguo, can you help me? Ning Luo asked anxiously. Tang Guo frowned. I don't know if I can save him. Although I learned from the high priest for a while, I don't seem to be that smart. How could I learn the high priest's skills so quickly? If it was that easy, wouldn't all the members of the tribe learn it? Ning Luo thought so too. But if Tang Guo didn't help, no one could save Vigo. Guoguo, no matter what, please try and save Vigo. Tang Guo thought for a moment and said, I'm afraid I'll kill him. Guoguo, I believe in you. Ning Luo seemed to be grasping at the last straw. The other members also said that they wouldn't blame her if something went wrong. Tang Guo thought it was funny. If she really killed someone, the first person to blame would be Ning Luo. Then these people would say that she didn't learn the skills but insisted on saving someone, causing Vigo's death. Okay, since you've said that, I'll try. It just so happens that the high priest taught me a method of treating serious injuries. Ning Luo sighed in relief, but she was still worried. When she saw that Tang Guo was fiddling with the herbs, she let out a sigh of relief. Ants when she'd. Ants. It seemed that Guoguo didn't mean to do anything bad. Guo really is. There was almost no one who didn't believe this, even Aie. But the Miku brothers, who were standing in the crowd, looked at each other. Was Guoguo really not lying? They were a little uncertain. Olga was cheering for Tang Guo and kept saying, Guoguo. You're really amazing. Chapter 687. Ah! Vigo screamed, attracting the attention of Gaines, Imo and the rest. They rushed into the cave and didn't expect to see such an erotic scene. If you ignored Vigo's pained expression, it was indeed very erotic. Ning Luo saw more and more people rushing in and hurriedly wrapped the animal skin around himself. Seeing Vigo's pale face, he couldn't care less about his shyness and hurriedly hugged him. "Vigo, what's wrong? Where does it hurt?" "I'm sorry, you're still injured. We shouldn't be like this." Vigo gritted his teeth and comforted Ning Luo. "My body hurts." It was very painful, as if something was gnawing on his body. It made him want to scratch his skin and tear apart the painful parts. Seeing Vigo in so much pain, the others hurriedly drove the scene from their minds. "What's wrong with Vigo?" "I don't know. He said his body hurts." Ning Luo suddenly thought of Tanghua. "Gaines, quickly call Guoguo over. She treated Vigo's injuries. She must know what's wrong." Tanghua was quickly called over. She looked at Vigo curled up in pain, then looked at Ning Luo's red face that hadn't faded, and even the obvious marks on his body. She couldn't help but laugh in her heart. How could she treat a sinister snake like Vigo so easily? But now her expression was very serious. "What's wrong with Vigo? Guogua, quickly take a look." Vigo said his body hurts. He even said his whole body hurts. "Is there a problem with the herbs?" "Host, I really don't understand. She was the one who begged you to save her. Now that she's saved her life, she's blaming you for the slight pain in her body. Judging from her tone, if you can't treat her, she's probably going to pin the blame on you." Tanghua smiled. "You'll understand if you see more. You'll level up faster and have more human emotions. Then you'll understand this mentality." She squatted down and pretended not to understand as she checked Vigo's body. Of course she knew what was wrong with Vigo. He must have turned into his original form when he fought with the wild beasts. Vigo was a snake. Even though his body had scales, it was still weaker than some wild beasts with thick skin. His body had been torn open by the wild beasts and many sharp stones and branches had splashed in. In normal treatment, those things had to be cleaned up before the medicine could be applied. Tanghua purposely skipped this step. Anyway, she did not understand. She had also saved Vigo. There were all kinds of sharp stones and branches in his body. It would be strange if Vigo didn't die from the pain. She stealthily sped up the healing process of the other party's wound. He was going to suffer a lot. "I didn't see anything wrong with Vigo." Tanghua's expression was innocent. "I followed the high priest's instructions to stop the bleeding and suture the wound. Now Vigo is fine. He's in pain. Could it be some old illness? I'm sure I don't have any old problems." Vigo glanced coldly at Tanghua. Tanghua spread her hands innocently and said, "I really can't find out. You guys forced me to treat you. If I had known, I wouldn't have helped you. Guogua, don't be like this. Don't be angry. Vigo is just in too much pain. I apologize to you on his behalf." Ning Luo hurriedly said, "Guogua, help Vigo check his body again. I didn't find out anything. It's only been a few days. Why don't we wait a few more days and observe? Maybe it'll be fine." Ning Luo thought it was okay. Vigo did not object. Perhaps his injuries were really too serious. He did not notice the evil smile on Tanghua's face. Chapter 688. Guogua, Vigo says his body is still in pain. 3 days later, Ning Luo rushed to Tanghua's residence and looked at her with pitiful eyes. Guogua, go and take a look at Vigo again. Vigo was only in pain, but his life wasn't in danger. She didn't dare to blame Tangguo for treating Vigo badly. She was just a student who had just taken the college entrance exam, so she didn't know much about healing. Vigo still needed Tangguo's help. She complained that Tangguo's skills weren't up to par, but she didn't dare to show it on her face. The high priest hadn't returned after so many days, so she could only place her hopes on Tangguo. Vigo had been rolling on the ground in pain for the past 3 days, day and night. He couldn't sleep at all. If this went on, she was really afraid that something would happen to Vigo. "You're not done yet." Tangguo touched her chin. "Okay, then I'll go with you to take a look." When they arrived at Ning Luo's residence, Tangguo heard low cries of pain. She walked in and saw Vigo curled up on the ground with a sallow face. His body was in so much pain that he trembled and occasionally rolled, making him cry out in pain. She was delighted. This stinky snake could really withstand pain. He hadn't died from the pain. As expected of the male lead. "Vigo, I'll let Aguagua take a look at you again." Vigo glanced coldly at Tangguo. He was obviously unwilling, but because his body was in so much pain, he allowed Tangguo to examine him. "The scabs have fallen off." Tangguo checked again and touched her chin. "Since I saved him, there shouldn't be any problems, right?" Imo, Gain, Mingzhou, and He Lang also came. Although they were jealous that Ning Luo cared so much about Vigo, if Vigo hadn't saved Ning Luo, they would have lost Ning Luo forever. Therefore, they all tacitly agreed to Vigo's existence. Even though Vigo was from the snake tribe, snakes were generally unwilling to integrate into the tribe. They had their own caves, and the members of the tribe didn't like to live with snakes. "Why don't Vigo transform into his true form, and Guogua can directly examine his true form?" He Lang suddenly said. He remembered that every time the high priest treated the tribe members, he would let them transform into their original form to check on them. If there were no problems, he would transform into his human form to treat them. Now that he thought about it, he felt that there was indeed one step missing. Vigo pursed his lips as if he was unwilling. In front of strangers, he was unwilling to transform into his original form. But looking at Ning Luo's worried expression, he nodded and got up with Ning Luo's help. They walked outside. His body was relatively large, and this small residence couldn't accommodate him. When he was outside, he transformed into his original form. A giant snake with scales appeared in front of him. The scales were sparse. Once the scales covered his entire body, he would most likely turn into a flood dragon. However, there were no legends of flood dragons in this world of orcs. No matter how powerful the snake race was, they had never successfully evolved into a flood dragon. After transforming into his original form, Vigo felt even more pain. This time, without waiting for Tangguo to check, the others could see that something was wrong with Vigo's body. There were some bulges, as if there was something inside. "There's something strange inside Vigo's body," Gain said. Tears fell from Ning Luo's eyes. "Guogua, quickly take a look." "What's inside?" Tangguo then said to He Lang, "Leader, if we want to determine what's inside Vigo's body, we might have to cut it open." System, poison. Chapter 689. Vigo's entire body stiffened. He looked coldly at Tangguo. Tangguo pretended to be afraid and took a few steps back. "If you don't want to, then forget it. You didn't transform into your original form. How would I know that there would be something strange inside? Why don't you cut it open yourselves?" "I won't do it. He doesn't look like he's in any danger." Ning Luo obviously couldn't bear to do it, but seeing Vigo's pained expression, he said, "Leader, you try. Cut open a small area first and see what's inside." Tangguo looked very serious on the surface, but she was laughing in her heart. He Lang nodded. He took the big knife and cut open a bulge. Vigo looked like he was in pain, but he was now a snake head. His expression couldn't be seen, but his body was trembling. The flesh was cut open, and He Lang carefully took out the bulging thing. When everyone saw this thing, they were all stunned. Stonehead. Gain stammered. He Lang picked out another piece of wood. Everyone's expression changed. We can basically confirm that these things were accidentally mixed in when Vigo was fighting with the beasts. His body was torn apart by the beasts, He Lang said. Now, if we want to solve Vigo's pain, we can only cut open his flesh and take out the stones, wood, and branches. Ning Luo looked at Tanghua. Agwagwa, didn't you disinfect and clean Vigo's wounds when you treated him? His complaints couldn't be concealed anymore. Tanghua was confused. What's disinfecting? I cleaned the wounds. Didn't I wash them with hot water? Ning Luo looked at the confused Tanghua and was speechless. How could she forget that this was the backward world of the beastmen? These beastmen had thick skin and were uncultured. How could they know the importance of disinfecting and cleaning wounds? Since you found the reason, I won't care anymore. Don't look for me next time. I really don't know how to. Tanghua said angrily, it was you who wanted me to save him. Now that there is a problem, you want to blame me. Agwagwa, this time you really weren't careful. Every time the high priest treated the wound, he would let the tribe members transform into their original forms to check the wound. He Lang said, as if he was not satisfied with her words about Ning Luo. Tanghua glanced at him. I've already said that you don't have to look for me if something like this happens again. I've already rejected you. With that, she left. In any case, he had achieved his revenge. Now, all he had to do was wait for someone to betray him. System, this host. Although Tanghua had returned to her residence, she got the system to do a live broadcast for her. She watched as He Lang cut open Vigo's healed wound with a knife and took out the rocks, wood, and branches. Stones were easier to remove as they were easy to peel off. The branches and wood weren't that easy. Every time he took them, Vigo would cry out in pain. Imagining a giant snake rolling around outside, he found it especially funny. Listening to Vigo's screams, she chewed on the dried fruit in a wonderful mood. After taking out the things in his body, Vigo was already injured all over. He was in so much pain that he was half unconscious. Ning Luo hugged the giant snake head and kissed it. Seeing this scene, Tanghua really couldn't hold back and spat out. Finally, He Lang took some herbs to stop the bleeding and applied them on Vigo. A few days later, Vigo's wound was still bleeding. This was because the tearing of the branches and wood was too serious. Compared to the previous pain, it was even more painful now. Chapter 690. 10 days had passed and Vigo's wound had only scabbed over. Ning Luo remembered the herbs that Tanghua had applied on Vigo. They would scab and fall off in a few days. He hesitated for a moment but still went to find Tanghua. I won't. Agwagwa, please help Vigo. He's in great pain now. Tanghua shook her head. Ning Luo, it's not that I don't want to help you. I'm just afraid that I'll kill him. After all, his pain was caused by my carelessness. Agwagwa, as a member of the tribe, are you going to watch Vigo suffer? He Lang couldn't bear to see Tanghua cry. He spoke coldly to her. Tanghua spread her hands. Is Vigo a member of the tribe? Didn't I save him before? Was I the one who made him suffer? She looked at He Lang with a smile. Chief, you should understand that I'm not the high priestess. I can't save lives. You forced me to help Vigo. I always refused. It was you who begged me, so I had no choice but to help. Now that his life is no longer in danger, I'm a little scared that my hand will tremble and worsen his injury. You'll hate me to death. Ning Luo remembered that Tang Guo didn't even clean the wound before applying medicine. He hesitated and pulled He Lang. Then forget it. Chief, I'm also afraid that something will happen to Vigo. Okay. Tang Guo watched the two leave together with a sarcastic smile. How boring. Vigo's wound had only scabbed over after half a month. He couldn't fight for the time being. Otherwise, it might tear open. There were rumors in the tribe that it was because of Agwagwa's carelessness that Vigo was in so much pain. In short, they were all talking about Agwagwa. Within 2 days, there were even rumors that Agwagwa was deliberately tormenting Vigo. The reason was that Ning Luo's kindness had attracted the tribe's #1 warrior, He Lang. When Vigo had almost recovered, Ning Luo accepted Gain and Vigo. At the same time, Imo, Mingjiu, and He Lang couldn't help but confess to Ning Luo. At that time, there were many members around them who heard their confessions. Ning Luo looked at these powerful men who all liked her wholeheartedly. Their gazes were so focused on her, and she couldn't help but blush. However, she already had Vigo and Gains. She was very hesitant about this and felt that her way of thinking wasn't quite right. She was very conflicted. The three of them also expressed that they wouldn't force her as long as she didn't reject their pursuit. Only then did Ning Luo reluctantly accept. This undoubtedly made the other members understand that Imo, Gain, and He Lang were basically Ning Luo's mates. The fact that 5 strong and good-looking males liked Ning Luo at the same time made the females in the tribe jealous. Especially the females who liked Imo and Gains, their gazes towards Ning Luo were no longer as pure. As for the Black Wolf, none of the females felt that she was worthy of him. Instead, they felt that it was only right for him to choose Ning Luo. In their opinion, Ning Luo was better than Agwagwa and even easier to get along with. In short, they both hated and liked Ning Luo. He Lang's confession to Ning Luo also made them feel that Agwagwa was taking revenge on Vigo because Ning Luo had snatched He Lang away. Ning Luo seemed to think so too. Later on, she became much colder when she saw Tang Guo. In the following time, Ning Luo also accepted life in the Beastmen world. She recalled the modern daily necessities and gradually brought changes to the tribe. Chapter 691. The tribesmen received Ning Luo's advice and made many practical and simple gadgets to trade with other tribes. When the other party asked, they would praise Ning Luo from head to toe. In just 2 months, Ning Luo's name was known by many people. The Mada Kingdom, which was a little far from the Lado tribe, also knew of Ning Luo's existence. King Larry immediately decided to capture Ning Luo. Of course, if the beastmen there were willing to hand Ning Luo over, that would be even better. If they weren't willing, they would start a war and take over the Lado tribe. They would kill their males and steal their females and food. King Larry of the Mada Kingdom acted quickly. He sent 200 of the strongest warriors of the Mada Kingdom to the Lado tribe. They rode on tamed beasts and were very fast. If any tribe dared to obstruct them, they would be trampled. The members of Mada were all very cruel. Otherwise, they wouldn't have built their own country. Under the rule of Mada, there were many beastmen tribes. They had to pay for food every year in order to take refuge in Mada when the beast tide came. But because they had to pay for food, they didn't have enough to eat all year round. Many unwilling tribes, such as the Lado tribe, didn't want to rely on a country like Mada that exploited their food. They moved their tribe deep into the forest so that Mada couldn't control them. But with that, there was the danger of beast tides every year. Mada's city was built with stone. Mada also had powerful wise men. Even if the beast tide came to attack them, they would be defeated. The warriors of Mata were too fast. The members of the Lado tribe weren't well informed and were surrounded by the warriors of Mata. Looking at the fierce warriors and the beasts that the warriors of Mata were leading, the members of the Lado tribe were all shocked. Even if they had the powerful Black Wolf leader, strong warriors like Gaines, Aimo, Mingjiao and Vigo, they couldn't compare to the hundreds of warriors of Mata. If a conflict broke out, the 100 or so people of the Lado tribe wouldn't be able to resist. Not to mention, Mata didn't only have 200 warriors. "We're only here for one thing," Warrior Mata said. "Hand over a little female called Ning Luo. Don't try to fool us. We know that little female is white and tender, different from other females. I'll give you 3 days to consider. Otherwise, we'll occupy your Lado tribe and kill all the male orcs here. The females and food here will belong to the Mata kingdom." He Lang's expression changed, but he didn't dare to face the conflict head-on. He had finally found a place, so was he going to give it up? He didn't even consider handing over Ning Luo. He planned to leave with his tribesmen tonight. Seeing the warriors of Mata turn and leave, He Lang hurriedly gathered all the members and told them that they would be retreating tonight. All the members returned to the cave and packed their things. When night fell, the members of the Lado tribe quietly walked from the back of the mountain into the depths of the forest. They had underestimated Matagua's obsession with Ning Luo. It didn't take long for them to feel that something was wrong. The 2 members walking in front screamed. He Lang raised his torch and saw clearly that the 2 members were being torn apart by wild beasts. The warrior of Mata said, "I've said it before. Don't fool us. Go back or die. Decide for yourselves. I've changed my mind now. I'll give you 2 days to consider." Chapter 692. "We can't hand Luo Luo over," Gain said. Vigo also said, "If anyone wants to hand Luo Luo over, I'll swallow them." Aimo, Mingjiao and He Lang all nodded. They didn't intend to hand Ning Luo over. Ning Luo also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. How did she know that there was a Beastman kingdom here? She even attracted their attention. If she had known earlier, she wouldn't have done so many things to attract their attention. "We're surrounded by Mata warriors now. We can't leave at all. Chief, we don't want to hand Ning Luo over either. But what should we do next? Mata is so cruel. If we don't do as they say, they'll definitely flatten our Lado tribe." Aie was also very anxious. She didn't want to go to the cruel Mata at all. She heard that many tribes had been exploited by Mata. Suddenly, she saw Tanggua sitting on the side with nothing to do. Ning Luo was also not far from Tanggua. Looking at the 2 of them, she was surprised to find that Guoguo was fairer than Ning Luo. Her body also looked slimmer than Ning Luo. She rolled her eyes and whispered to the female beast man beside her, "I think Guoguo looks a little like Ning Luo. If Guoguo goes to Mata, they won't suspect that she's Ning Luo. Guoguo looks slender but she's not as weak as Ning Luo. She should be doing well in Mata." The female beast men began to discuss. At first, they were just whispering, but now, everyone was discussing. Actually, what they wanted to express was that Ning Luo could bring countless changes to their tribe, but Guoguo was dispensable. In other words, she didn't contribute much to the tribe. Although Mata was cruel, they were still friendly to females. Guoguo could replace Ning Luo and go to Mata. It was just a change of location. Her life wouldn't be in danger. Vigo heard this and smiled. "I think this is a good idea. Guoguo can replace Ning Luo and go to Mata. What do you think, Chief?" He Lang was very hesitant. "Guoguo, Ning Luo is so weak. You can replace her this time. Before He Lang could speak, Gain spoke, followed by Aimo Mingjiu didn't speak, but seeing that he didn't object, it was obvious that he agreed. The members of the tribe also looked at Tangguo with sparkling eyes, as if they thought this was a very good idea. What are you thinking? How can you let Guogua go to Mata? Do you know how cruel the members of Mata are? Even if they treat females well, what if they know that a Guogua is fake? When Olga heard the words of all the members, she stood up immediately. She couldn't believe that the members of the Lado tribe had actually suggested letting Guogua replace Ning Luo. Have you forgotten that Guogua's parents sacrificed themselves for our Lado tribe? Who was the one who came up with the idea to let us avoid the attacks of the beasts so that none of our members died? Wasn't it a Guogua who discovered the place where we live now? Ah, Guogua picked up the broadswords we are using. Olga was very angry. How could these people forget a Guogua's kindness? Even if they wanted to replace Ning Luo, it couldn't be a Guogua. But we can't hand Ning Luo over. That's right, Ning Luo can't not be handed over. Ning Luo is the most intelligent female. It's best for her to stay in the Lado tribe. Chapter 693. Olga's heart turned cold when she saw the members saying that they couldn't hand Ning Luo over. So they could hand Guogua over. Without Ning Luo, we don't have any shoes to wear. We don't have meat soup to drink either. Ning Luo can teach us how to weave beautiful flowers and sew beautiful clothes. Ning Luo knows how to make food that we think is inedible. She's a wise person. We can't hand her over. Olga's eyes turned red. But Guogua had saved their lives before. She didn't understand. Guogua was the one who had saved their lives. Why would she abandon her now? I don't agree, Olga shouted. If you dare to hand Guogua over, I'll fight it out with you. Miku, Mi-er, do you dare to fight with me and protect Guogua? Miku and Mi-er hurriedly nodded. Olga was finally satisfied. She took a deep breath and turned around to pull Tangguo. She patted her chest. Guogua, I'll protect you. As long as I'm alive, I won't let you be handed over. After speaking, she pulled Tangguo into the cave in front of all the members. Ning Luo was also very scared. She had heard that Matagua was very violent. Her body trembled as she hid in Gain's arms. Vigo hugged her gently. Luo, don't worry. I won't let you go to Matagua. Sleep well tonight and you'll be fine when you wake up tomorrow. Really? Really? A cold smile appeared on Vigo's face. No one could snatch Luo away from him. She could only be replaced by someone else. After coaxing Ning Luo to sleep, the men gathered together. Hand Guogua over, Vigo said. For Luoluo's sake, I hope that you won't stop us. Unless you're willing to hand Luo over. Impossible, they refuted at the same time. Vigo gave a victorious smile. He Lang, are you going to stop us? He Lang clenched his fists but didn't say anything. Between Guogua and Ning Luo, he chose Ning Luo. He could only let Guogua down. Matagua probably wouldn't do anything to Guogua, but he couldn't lose Ning Luo. Mil and Mick must be guarding Guogua's residence. We can defeat them together. Vigo narrowed his eyes. For safety's sake, we'll take action tomorrow night. Tomorrow morning, we'll let them lower their guard. Olga won't think so much. We just need to trick her. They agreed. The next day, He Lang announced that they would think of other ways. When the members saw Black Wolf's confident look, they all relaxed. In fact, they felt uneasy about handing over Guogua, but between their lives and Guogua, they chose their own lives. Ning Luo was more important than Guogua, so they could only give up Guogua. Late at night, Vigo smiled at them. This time, let me be the bad guy. Otherwise, Black Wolf, you will lose your demeanor as a leader. He had also accepted the existence of Black Wolf and the others. Ning Luo needed them to protect him. As expected, there was no one guarding outside Tangua's residence. Vigo easily came in and subdued Tangua. He handed her over to the warriors of Matagua and told them that this was Ning Luo. Tangua now looked much fairer than Ning Luo. The warriors of Matagua had never seen such a fair female before. They didn't suspect anything and took her away. Will Agwagwa be okay? Mick looked at the sleeping Olga and asked anxiously. Agwagwa is the real wise one. Don't worry. If she can predict so many things, nothing will happen. When Olga finds out tomorrow, we'll fall out with the Lado tribe and leave according to what Agwagwa said. We'll meet again in the future. That's the only way. Chapter 694. When Tangua woke up, she was in the beast carriage. The surrounding Mata beast men all stared at her when they saw that she had woken up. She smiled and said, "How long will it take to reach Mata?" She couldn't wait to go to Mata and conquer it. King Larry of Mata was a very cruel beast man. She definitely wouldn't let him go. She planned to kill Larry as soon as she got there. She wouldn't be so restricted when she went to Mata. She would be able to show off her skills. But this time, she didn't plan to be the king of Mata. She heard that there was a very popular job in the beastmen world. It was called a wise man. As the name implied, only beastmen with extraordinary wisdom would be called wise men. She should be able to be a wise man. Her beast carriage was pulled by 2 wild horses. There was a burly beast man riding on the wild horses. He was Mata's #1 warrior and Larry's lackey. He was the one who found out that Agwagwa wasn't Ning Luo and threw her to those cruel beast men. So, this person couldn't live. She needed to choose someone who didn't have a grudge against her, who was obedient and easy to control. It would be best if he had a grudge against Larry. She recalled the plot and quickly found a candidate. Siri, Larry's younger brother. He had always been suppressed by Larry and was even chased out of the palace. He was currently living a poor life. Even so, Siri didn't give up. He was secretly developing his power. The plot mentioned that there had been chaos in Mata. It was because of this chaos that Ning Luo and her mates were able to defeat the powerful Mata. In the end, they took over Mata's territory and established the Beastmen Kingdom. I still need 3 more people. A beastman replied to Tangua. Be good and don't run. You'll get the best treatment in Mata. As long as you bring what you know to Mata, the king will grant you the title of a noble. Tangua chuckled and replied, Sure, I want to be a noble too. I'm really sick of living in a cave every day in the Lado tribe. I heard that the houses in Mata are made of stone. That's right. Our city is made of stone. All the people of Mata live in houses made of stone. They are sturdy and durable. Even if the beast tide comes, it will be blocked by the sturdy stone walls. There is no danger at all. We still have the wise ones. No matter how ferocious the beast tide is, the wise ones will think of a way to deal with it. Speaking of this, the Mata beastmen were especially proud. They proudly told Tangua about the benefits. It didn't take long for Tangua to get along well with this group of people. She even cooked meat soup for them to drink. After they finished drinking, they looked at Tangua with burning eyes. Even the #1 warrior looked at Tangua differently. Perhaps because she had no intention of running away, she got along well with them. Along the way, other than the #1 warrior who was cold to her, the other beastmen were very warm and took care of her. They completely treated her as one of their own. Basically, they gave her whatever she wanted. The #1 warrior frowned when he saw this. In the end, perhaps because he thought that she wasn't dangerous, he didn't stop her. Soon, Tangua arrived in Mata. Seeing the houses made of stone, she felt that it was a little strange. The higher the status of the beast men, the better and sturdier the stones used. Especially the palace, it was actually built quite beautifully. There were also various carvings of beast men in their original forms. It looked ancient and beautiful. Chapter 695. King Larry personally met Tangua and told Tangua that he would grant her noble status as long as she was willing to bring the things she knew to Mata. Tangua agreed and was arranged to live in the noble's house that day. A few warriors and female orcs were sent to take care of her, but they were actually monitoring her. She didn't care about these things and casually took out a few things for Larry. After Larry sent people to learn them, he was very satisfied. Tangua had been in Mata for a month. Larry didn't think that she would have any thoughts of betrayal. Moreover, the orcs who were monitoring her said that she was very happy every day and was very happy to live in Mata. Now, even the #1 warrior didn't suspect Tangua anymore. Not to mention that she even took out some good things from time to time. After Tangua confirmed that Larry didn't deliberately monitor her, she went to get close to Siri. Getting close to Siri was very smooth and Siri was very surprised by her arrival. From the beginning, his subordinates had received news that Larry had snatched a very powerful female orc from the Rado tribe. The items in Mata had also become more abundant because of this female orc. It could be said that her status was also gradually rising. Even if she couldn't be compared to the king, the wise ones, and the #1 warrior, she was still nobler than the other orcs. At that time, Siri's face was very ugly, but he didn't dare to do anything. Now that Tangua personally came to him, he was very confused. "You're Ning Luo, right? Why are you looking for me?" Tangua sat on the stone bench and shook her head. "My name is not Ning Luo. Everyone calls you Ning Luo. Are you from the Rado tribe or were you snatched by Larry? If you're not Ning Luo, how can you make those rare items?" Larry and his lackey, the #1 warrior, are very cunning. You can't fool them. Anyway, he didn't believe that Tangua was a fake. "My name is Iguagua. I'm here to cooperate with you, Siri." Tangua smiled. "Do you want Mata?" Shili was shocked. He looked at Tangua warily, wondering if she was serious or just trying to trick him. Perhaps Larry had sent her to kill him to confuse him. No matter what, he would not believe it so easily. In fact, the world of the beast men was not that simple. From the beast men in Mata, it could be seen that there was no lack of intelligent beast men, and Shili was one of them. As for the beast men of the Lado tribe, just being alive made them busy. They didn't have the energy or the mind to think, so naturally, they weren't that smart. Siri did not believe him. He was very careful and quickly expressed that he did not want Matagua at all. Tangua did not force him. She would occasionally come over to talk to him. Later on, Shili confirmed that every time she came over, Larry did not notice. After a while, he finally understood that the female was telling the truth. "Why are you doing this?" "I don't like Larry, so I want to kill Larry and the first warrior." "Do you dare, Siri?" For the first time, he was impressed by this female's boldness. "Siri, as long as you're obedient and obediently rule Mata, I promise that you won't regret it. On the contrary, you'll gain a lot of benefits. I don't want Matagua, and I'll even help you unify the beast men." It had to be said that Shili was very excited and moved. However, he did not believe that Tangua was so capable. Until Tangua took out a steel knife from thin air and chopped the stone table into pieces. She said brightly, "I have as many of these things as you want. However, I won't give you an attitude, but I can teach you how to make them. I'll do it. Chapter 696. After that, Shili got busy, and Tangua had some free time. She gave Shili a batch of steel knives. She found them in the market of the pirated system. They weren't anything good, but in the world of the beast men, they were very cruel weapons. Shili was smart and patient. He waited for a very good opportunity to start a civil war. He killed Larry and the first warrior in front of all the beast men and ruled Mata country. On the first day of ruling Mata country, he announced that Tangua's real identity was a Guagua. She would be the wisest person in Mata country from now on. From the moment Tangua took out the steel sword out of thin air, the smart Shili didn't intend to betray Guagua. In fact, in his heart, he believed that Guagua wasn't a wise woman, but a fallen god. A god was someone he couldn't afford to offend. No matter what reason this fallen god had for helping him, he would get a lot of benefits. He wasn't a narrow-minded guy like Larry. Furthermore, he clearly discovered that this god was indeed not interested in ruling over the world. She was happy to help Mata country change and bring them all kinds of new things. More importantly, she especially liked to instigate him to expand his territory. Every time he succeeded, she would stare at the map and say, "Continue to expand." It was as if she was only interested in the pleasure of expanding and had no intention of ruling at all. Shili didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Guagua saw that the situation was about right, so she taught Shili the most primitive method of smelting iron. Shili was very excited. "Guagua, what do you want to do in the future? Just say it. Let the warriors of Mata country help you." "Shili, don't be too excited. Smelt the iron properly. It's very important for your expansion." Shili's mouth twitched when he heard that. He felt like vomiting when he heard about expanding his territory. "Guagua, it's going to be winter soon. Let's talk about expanding our territory next year." For the first time, Shili was a little disgusted by expanding his territory. He always felt that Guagua wanted to rule the entire Beastmen country. He would die of exhaustion if that happened. Tangua thought for a while and agreed. "Yinyao should be here soon." "Oh right, in a while, there might be a beautiful snow wolf looking for me. His name is Yinyao, he is my mate. You are not allowed to hurt him. When you see him, bring him in to see me." "Alright, no problem. I'll definitely instruct them to pay attention." Tangua lived a comfortable life in Mata and was respected by all the beastmen in Mata. The Lado tribe did not fare so well. The next morning after Tangua was handed over to the Lado tribe. When Olga found out the truth, she suspected that Hei Lang had secretly handed over Tangua and caused a huge ruckus with Hei Lang. The other beastmen of the Lado tribe did not say a word and did not say anything bad about Hei Lang. She could even see the relief on the faces of the members, as if they had just escaped with their lives. Her heart was completely cold. Ning Luo hurriedly said. She believed that Hei Lang didn't do it. She even asked Olga to calm down. The other members also agreed with Ning Luo's words, which almost made Olga mad. Vigo could not stand Ning Luo's grievance and admitted in front of everyone that he was the one who had handed over Tangua. Olga wanted Hei Lang to chase Vigo out of the tribe, but Ning Luo was unwilling. Vigo was still injured. In the end, Olga left the tribe with food and the two brothers, Mi and Miku. Hei Lang tried to stop her, but failed. Chapter 697. The Mikamil brothers followed what Tangua had told them and slowly moved towards Mata. After Olga asked them where they were going, she hugged each of them and kissed them. "Mikamil, you are indeed my spouse. You know me so well." "Yes, we are going to find Guagua now. I wonder how she is doing in the Orc Kingdom. Mikamil was a little helpless. Their Olga was really pure and kind. Guagua had already expected that Olga would take them away from the tribe. She had told them that even if Olga didn't plan to leave the Lado tribe, they had to take her away. At that time, they had asked, "Where are we going?" "Mata. We came to Mata to look for her. According to the time, you should be safe." Mikamil now fully believed in Guagua's wisdom, but he still approached Mata carefully. Outside Mata, they had heard many orcs talking. A few months ago, there had been political chaos in Mata. King Larry had been killed by his brother Siri, and Siri had become the king of Mata. King Siri of Mata had also publicly announced that there was a wise person by his side. This wise person's name was Guagua. At that time, Olga and the Mikamil brothers were also stunned. Was Guagua really the Guagua they knew? "Mikamil, could she be the Guagua we are looking for?" Olga asked excitedly. "Really? She must be, right? She must be my good friend Guagua." "Yes, Olga, she must be Guagua." Mikamil didn't lie to Olga. They believed that the powerful wise person should be Guagua. She could predict the truth of so many things. Only she had the ability to assist the weak Siri to take over Mata. She could also help Mata expand its territory and bring about countless changes to Mata. Guagua. The sadness on Olga's face disappeared. She held Mikamil and Mil's hand and rushed towards the city of Mata. She looked very excited. They were stopped by the city guards. Olga shouted, "I am Guagua's friend. My name is Olga. I am here to find Guagua." Mikkel wanted to stop them. After all, these guards might not know about Ollie. Unexpectedly, when the guard heard Olga's name and asked for their names, his expression became respectful. "Oh, it's Lady Olga. Please come in. Lady Guagua has been waiting for you for a long time." This time, Olga finally cried tears of joy. It was really Guagua. She hugged Mikamil and kissed him. Finally, they let her in. When she saw Tangua, she was eating delicious food. Shili had sent many helpers to help her, so she didn't have to hide anything now. Shili looked at her as if he was looking at a deity. She didn't want to make herself suffer. Olga saw a lot of delicious food on Tangua's table. She smelled the delicious aroma, which she had never seen before. A fox's nose was very sensitive. Even Mikamik almost couldn't control himself. This was too fragrant. However, they did not move. Instead, they went to check on Tangua first. Olga ran over and hugged Tangua. She cried and said, "Guagua, are you really okay? Are you still a wise person? They all call you Lady Guagua, but they call me Lady Olga." "I'm fine. Come down, I'm eating." Tangua pushed Olga away in disdain and invited Mikamil to sit down and eat. Chapter 698. Eat the food first. You came at the right time. I've prepared a lot today. After Olga was elated, she swallowed her saliva while looking at the food. Let's eat first. It looks delicious. It's delicious. It's spicy, but it's still delicious. Mikkel and Mil were not as rude as Olga. No matter what they did, they were still elegant. When they ate, they sat quietly at the side. Even if it was delicious, they enjoyed it with their eyes closed. But as Olga said, it was really delicious. Now, Tangua's position in their hearts had risen again. Guagua was indeed a wise person. No, she was more powerful than a wise person. She was even more powerful than the high priest. The two brothers were shocked as they ate. She was even more powerful than the high priest. Could it be that Agwagwa was a descended god? When they entered the city of Mata, they found many different things. It was very strange. The orc who brought them and told them that those things were brought by Agwagwa. All the orcs in Mata talked about Agwagwa as if they were looking at a god. They said that she was a wise person, but in fact, she was already a god in their hearts. You can live in Mata from now on. If you want to do anything, just tell Sheely directly. Sheely is very easy to talk to, Tangwa said with a smile. We don't want to be too far away from Olga, Mikhail said. The most important thing in their hearts was Olga. Mil thought for a while. Let's be merchants. We two brothers are smart. Olga has always liked beautiful dresses and necklaces. Merchants can get a lot of these things. In the future, they would give Olga whatever she wanted. Seeing Olga's satisfied smile made them happy. Then I'll talk to Sheely and allow you to set up the first caravan in Mata. In the future, you can use Mata's goods to exchange for good things from other tribes and other countries. Tangwa said casually, which shocked Mikhail and Mil. When they saw Sheely and found that Sheely respected Tangwa as if she was a god, they finally understood. It seemed that Agwa might really be a powerful god. Next, they saw the weapons made by Matagwa. Although they were very crude and could not compare to the weapons that Tangwa gave to Sheely, the weapons that Tangwa gave to Sheely were called treasures by Sheely. Only the strongest warriors of Matagwa were qualified to use them. On this side, the Lajua tribe had also moved away from their original place, and their days of running around were not easy. Ning Luo was fine. She had 5 men to protect her. It was different for the other members of the tribe, especially for pregnant females who had babies. Because their bodies were too weak and they were tired from running around, they even fell sick. Just when they were at their wits' end, Yi Niao appeared. When Yi Niao appeared, they all shouted excitedly, "The high priest is back. We're saved, we're saved." Yi Niao didn't immediately go to help those sick members. Instead, he searched for Tangwa in the crowd. In the end, he didn't see Tangwa, so he asked the members of the tribe. All the members were silent. After all, Agwagwa had been handed over in place of Ning Luo. But they didn't dare to hide such things from Yi Niao, so they told him intermittently. At that time, Yi Niao's face, which wasn't cold, turned green. The way he looked at the members of the tribe was actually filled with coldness. Ai said softly, "High priest, no matter what, let's treat the members of the tribe first." When Yi Niao heard this, he smiled. He smiled with tears in his eyes. Chapter 699. High Priest, many of our members are sick. Please help us treat them, He Lang said. With the current state of the members, they couldn't travel at all. He wasn't sure when Matagwa would see through their deception and recognize that Agwagwa wasn't Ning Luo. Once Agwagwa's identity was exposed, King Matagwa would definitely send a large number of warriors to stop them. Not only would he kill their members and steal their food and females, but he would also lose Ning Luo forever. Why didn't you stop them? Yi Niao asked coldly. He Lang didn't dare to look at Yi Niao's eyes. He looked at the frightened Ning Luo. Luo is very important to the tribe. Everyone thinks she should stay. Matagwa wants Ning Luo, not Agwagwa. Why do you want Agwagwa to replace Ning Luo? Yi Niao asked. Before they answered, he asked again, is Ning Luo important to the tribe? Is she important to you too? He Lang didn't deny it. Ning Luo was indeed very important to him. She was more important than his life. For Ning Luo, he went against his own principles and abandoned Agwagwa. When did he forget his promise to Agwagwa that he would wait for her to grow up and only have eyes for Ning Luo? He didn't know. He only knew that when he had to choose between the two, he would choose Ning Luo. He couldn't lose her. Yi Niao's eyes turned red. So you think Guogua isn't important to the tribe? No one dared to say a word. The person who questioned them wasn't Olga, but the high priest, a shapeshifter they couldn't disobey. Only when the high priest was in the tribe could he help treat the illness and injuries of their members. Yi Niao looked around at the members of the Lajuo tribe. You forgot who found the cave, who thought of a way to deal with the beast tide. You also forgot who the sword in the chief's hand belongs to. You forgot that without a Guogua, the Lajuo tribe wouldn't have been able to live in the cave for so many months. You wouldn't have lost a single member after the terrifying beast tide. And you abandoned her at the most critical moment. You said she wasn't important and couldn't compare to Ning Luo, right? Yi Niao's smile was a little sad. I finally understand why Guogua doesn't want to be close to you. The only one who can be friends with her is Olga. Because at the most critical moment, only Olga did not abandon Guogua. She even chose to leave the Lado tribe for Guogua. Guogua is indeed the smartest female. Yi Niao looked into the distance. That direction was where Matagua was. With a smile on his face, he suddenly transformed into a snow-white wolf and leaped towards Matagua's direction. He was as fast as lightning. Before any of the members could react, he disappeared into the forest. His voice penetrated the forest and reached their ears. Since you've abandoned Guogua, I'll abandon you. I'm going to find my Guogua. She must miss me, and I miss her too. Yi Niao's sudden departure caught the members of the Lajuo tribe off guard. They panicked. Now that the high priest had left, who would heal them? They still had many children who were still sick. High priest, why are you leaving? You don't have to leave just for Guogua. Yeah, do you really want to sacrifice the entire Lajuo tribe for Guogua? Luckily, Yi Niao couldn't hear these words. Chapter 700. What should we do now? Imo asked. Without the high priest, we don't have anyone who knows how to treat illnesses. Many of the cubs can't take it anymore. If we knew that the high priest valued Guogua so much, we wouldn't have let Guogua go to Mata country. We didn't let Guogua go. We didn't kidnap Guogua either. It was Vigo who took the initiative to kidnap Guogua and hand her over to the warriors of Mata country. Speaking of which, it has nothing to do with us. The high priest hates us because of Vigo's mistake. Ning Luo wanted to defend Vigo, but she didn't know how to explain. She knew that they were wrong, but she didn't know how to refute them. She stood there anxiously. Vigo chuckled and hugged Ning Luo. All right, Luo. Don't bother about them. Just get used to it. He said in disdain. That was why he said that he could be the bad guy. These beast men were different from the snake tribe. If it wasn't for Ning Luo, he wouldn't want to be with them. Vigo, how can they say that about you? They want to hand Guogua over too. Ning Luo wasn't stupid. She could see the crux of the matter and she felt uncomfortable. Vigo didn't care. He said gently to Ning Luo, I told you to ignore them. Luo, I don't mind. I only want to protect you, Ning Luo. Ning Luo, who was originally angry, blushed when she heard this. On the other hand, the black wolves were troubled by their members' illnesses. Without the high priest, they couldn't treat their members' illnesses. These members offended Ning Luo. Even if Ning Luo had a solution, she wouldn't be willing to help them. For a time, their pace slowed down. Because of this, quite a few of their children died along the way. Conflicts also increased as a result. However, they still had a long way to go. They planned to go to the deepest part of the forest, a place far away from Mata country. That way, Mata country wouldn't know about them. On the other hand, Yin Yao came to Mata country in a hurry. He ran to the city of Mata country in the form of a snow wolf. Just as he was about to let out a long howl to show that he was coming to snatch the people, he did not expect that the guards guarding the city would walk up to him respectfully when they saw him. "May I know if you are Lord Yin Yao?" The king had instructed them to treat the snow wolf respectfully once it came to Mata. The king had also said that this snow wolf was the spouse of Sage Agogwa. Seeing it today, it was indeed different from ordinary snow wolves. Before the guards went up to ask, they were almost certain that it was Yin Yao, Lord Guogua's spouse. Yin Yao felt a little strange. Was there something wrong with this Mata country guard's brain? He actually called him Lord Yin Yao, such an honorable title. "Master Yin Yao, Master Agua knows that you are coming and has been waiting for a long time. Are you going to see her now?" At first, Yin Yao still had doubts. When he heard the name Agwagwa, he didn't think about anything else. Now, he just wanted to see her, his Agwagwa. "I want to see her." His voice was a little hoarse, and his eyes were a little hot. They called his Agwagwa Lord, so Agwagwa was very good, right? Walking into the city of Mata country, Yin Yao was shocked to see a city that was different from anything he had seen before. Chapter 701. The guard who brought Yin Yao in said happily, "Thank you, Master Agwagwa, for bringing us so many things. Thank you, God, for giving her to Mata country. Master Yin Yao, you are so lucky to be Master Agwagwa's only spouse." Yin Yao's expression did not change, but he was surprised. Did Agwagwa bring all these things to Mata country? Master Agwagwa is indeed the smartest person in the orc world, just like what the king said. Yin Yao observed carefully. Many orcs around him were smiling. Every time someone asked about the new things they had, they would proudly say that it was made by Master Agwagwa. Master Agwagwa was the smartest person in Mata country. She did not look like a wise person, she was like a god. Yin Yao passed by those streets. On the way to the palace, he was smiling. His Agwagwa was really amazing. Master Agwagwa lives here. This is her exclusive palace. Without her permission, no one is allowed to enter. The guard was a little envious. But Master Agwagwa said that Master Yin Yao can enter and leave at will without her permission. Those envious gazes made Yin Yao feel proud. He even enjoyed the envious gazes because of Agwagwa. He bid farewell to the guard and pushed the door in. When he pushed the door open, he was surprised. The door was made of wood and there were exquisite carvings on it. He had never seen it before, but it was very beautiful. He walked in nervously and excitedly. At first glance, he saw Tangua staring at some strange utensils. He quickened his steps and shouted, "Agwagwa, I'm back." Then, he quickly walked through her side and hugged her small body. He kissed her cheeks without a care in the world. Finally, he pressed his forehead against hers and looked at her little face up close seriously. Her face was rosy and she looked even more beautiful. She did not suffer. Yin Yao was relieved. Tangua also hugged his neck and kissed him on the cheek. She smiled and said, "High Priest, it's been more than half a year. You only came back now." "I'm sorry, Agwagwa. I came back late. That's why you were bullied. Then, High Priest, you have to avenge me." Yin Yao nodded, "Yes, I should take revenge for Agwagwa. I was too anxious just now. I just wanted to find you as soon as possible and forgot to take revenge for you. Agwagwa, how do you want to take revenge on them? Are you hungry?" Tangua touched Yin Yao's cheek and tugged, "You've lost a lot of weight. You don't look as good as before. You'll gain weight very soon." Yin Yao was a little worried. If he did not look good, would Agwagwa despise him? Tangua pushed him. Put me down first. I'll get someone to get you something to eat. Anyway, eat your fill first. Yin Yao was very obedient. When he returned to the Lajuo tribe and heard that Agwagwa had been handed over to Matagua, his heart felt empty. When he saw her again, that empty space was filled. Agwagwa was already a part of his heart. He couldn't do without her. He hugged her and did not let go. He rubbed his chin against her cheek and changed his position. He sat on the stone bench and hugged her in his arms. Agwagwa doesn't have to do anything. It should be fine like this. Tangua pursed her lips and smiled. All right, I'll do as you say, High Priest. Yin Yao, Agwagwa, call me by my name. I'm no longer the High Priest. Chapter 702. Tangua whispered in his ear, from today onwards, you are still the High Priest of the entire Mata country. But I would like to call you by your name, Yao. Yin Yao showed his most beautiful smile and kissed the corner of her lips. He was very satisfied. He held her small waist with his big hands and didn't want to let go. He had never held her like this before. Today, he couldn't let go of her. He only felt at ease when he hugged her in his arms. Tangua quickly ordered people to prepare a lot of delicious food and bring it up. Yin Yao looked at the food that he had never seen before in surprise. He looked at the utensils that were used to store the food. They were much better than the stone tools they used before. They looked more exquisite. These utensils were all made by burning. If Yao is interested, you can go and take a look. King Shili is a very generous orc. He wouldn't mind if you go and take a look. Tangua said as she picked up food for Yin Yao. The females who were serving the food trembled. What king was the most generous person? Master Agwagwa was the most generous one. Weren't you the one who brought out these things? Although they were muttering in their hearts, they didn't want to disturb them at this time. They left after serving the food. Yin Yao ate the delicacies that he had never tasted before and held the most beautiful female in his arms. He was very satisfied. Hearing that these were all brought to the orcs of Mata country by Agwagwa, he was very shocked and proud of it. Agwagwa was really amazing. That was his first thought. Agwagwa was his spouse. That was his second thought. After eating, Tangua brought Yin Yao to various places in Mata country. No one dared to stop her from entering any place that she wanted to, except for the place where Shili and Queen Shili slept. Even at that place, she could enter at any time as long as someone informed her. It was just that she wasn't interested in that. Yin Yao had really witnessed Tangua's wisdom. He didn't refuse to become the High Priest of Mata country. He was also called the State Preceptor. The orcs in the Mata kingdom cheered. Lady Agwagwa was a wise woman, and her spouse was the Grand Tutor. Their Mata kingdom was getting better and better. They felt that there were more people in the Mata kingdom. Perhaps next year, they could apply to King Siri for permission to occupy other territories. Those old animal skins that Tangua made back then contained some methods to treat illnesses that she personally wrote on them. It could be said that as long as Yin Yao understood what was written on them, it would be enough for him to deal with the injuries and illnesses of the beastmen world. Obviously, Yin Yao would not disappoint him. However, Yin Yao brought back another piece of news this time. This time, I followed them a little too deeply. That's why I came back so late. At night, the two of them sat on the roof and looked at the twinkling stars in the sky, holding each other's hands. I saw with my own eyes those beasts rushed into a place like a barrier and disappeared. Barrier. Tangua pursed her lips. A barrier that could be seen with the naked eye and allowed wild beasts to pass through could only be one thing. Enchantment. She had already confirmed that there was no mysterious power in the beastmen world, so why was there still a barrier? What she wanted to know now was whether the enchantment was a natural enchantment or man-made. If it was natural, then it was fine. If it was man-made, then there would be a big problem. I didn't go in. Yi Niao hugged Tanguo. It was very pure, without any emotions, only the purest of love. He kissed her forehead. Chapter 703. I'm afraid that I won't be able to come out if I go in, and I'll never see Guoguo again. You're right. You can't go to a place that's too dangerous and you're not sure if you can come out alive. But that place, she had to go and take a look. She wasn't afraid of the unknown and she didn't like the unknown. Do you still remember the location of that place? Yi Niao nodded and took out a piece of animal skin. I drew a map. As long as the location of that place doesn't change, you can reach it by following the route on the map. But it'll take more than half a year to go back and forth. Tanguo looked at the map. Although it was far away, she still wanted to go and take a look. She wasn't worried about Ma Tagua at all. She had handed over what she needed to Shi Li. With Shi Li's wisdom, Ma Tagua would definitely get better and better. Even without her, there wouldn't be any problems. But before she left, she had to draw up a plan for Shi Li. It was what she had to do in the next half a year. Shi Li wasn't that passionate about expanding his territory. If it wasn't for her urging, the expansion of his territory would be slower and slower. How could that be possible? Tanguo held her chin and squinted her eyes. She looked cute and playful, which made Yi Niao laugh. He grabbed her hand and flicked her forehead. What are you thinking about, Guoguo? Let's go to that place and take a look. We can go in together. That way, we won't have to worry about being separated. Yi Niao naturally agreed. It would be a pity if they couldn't figure out what was going on with the beast tide. But before we leave, let's draw up a development plan for Ma Tagua for Shi Li so that he won't slack off. Then, Tanguo gave a long speech about how Ma Tagua should rule all the orcs. In the end, Yi Niao couldn't help but ask, why does Guoguo like to expand her territory so much? She didn't seem to be an orc that liked to rule. Of course it's to prepare a big move for revenge. Because she had traveled through countless worlds. She tried to make every world more exciting. She didn't want to just travel through it numbly. In this world, there were people in the Lado tribe who betrayed her and hurt her. But there were also people like Ollie and people like Yi Niao. Naturally, she wanted to live a more interesting life. Revenge? With Mata's current strength, they can do whatever they want to the Lado tribe. Tanguo raised her eyebrows and raised her chin. That would be letting them off too easily. Is killing them and stealing their food considered revenge? Yi Niao caressed her cheek. Then Guoguo, tell me, how should I take revenge so that I'll feel better? He would help her with whatever she wanted to do. Of course, we'll take over all the places in the Beastmen world and leave them with only a large forest. They'll have nowhere to go and can only hole up in there. Every year, they'll have to worry about the beast tide. Tanguo raised her voice. Other than that big forest, the rest of the world is my territory. I want the warriors of Mata to build high walls so that they can't come in even if they want to. Even though Yi Niao had thought a lot, he really didn't expect Guoguo's thoughts to be so powerful. He admitted that he was inferior to her in terms of ambition. So, in order to leave the Rado tribe with nowhere to go, she wanted to take over all the places. System, yes, this is the host's revenge. The original recipe, the original taste, has never changed. He was also very impressed. Chapter 704. After Yi Niao confirmed that Tanguo was serious, he started to make plans with her. He watched as she arranged everything in an orderly manner, as well as the items she brought to Matagua. The most important thing was the production of ironware. He no longer doubted that Tangua could unify the entire orc world. Agwagwa had the ability to do so. As for the members of the Lajuo tribe, he had no pity for them. They looked at him as if it was natural for Agwagwa to go to Matagua. When they said that Ning Luo was more important to the Lajuo tribe than Agwagwa, he had already given up on the Lajuo tribe that he had protected for many years. He didn't care about what they would encounter in the future, or what would happen to them. Now, he only wanted to be with Agwagwa, the only one he cared about, to realize her ambition, to unify the orc world as soon as possible, and to take revenge on those who had bullied her. He would help her. A serious Yi Niao was undoubtedly very powerful. He had a very smart brain, and could infer many things from one example. As long as Tangua suggested something, he would quickly understand it. He would also come up with more effective methods according to the special situation. It took them more than 2 months to come up with these plans. Tangua also gave Shili some new things, as well as half a year's worth of tasks. Shili accepted it painfully and happily. When he heard that Tangua and Yi Niao needed to go out for half a year, he was shocked and very unwilling. These two were precious, nothing could happen to them. A Yao has found the source of the beast tide. I suspect that there is a conspiracy there. I'm afraid that it will threaten the safety of Matagua in the future, so I need to go and take a look. Hearing this, Shili knew that he couldn't stop them. He was a very straightforward person, and directly sent 100 of his strongest warriors to follow Tangua and Yi Niao. This time, Tangua didn't refuse. It was good to have people to serve her, so that Yi Niao wouldn't be tired. After all, Yi Niao would definitely take on everything along the way. Just like this, Tangua and Yi Niao set off, heading towards the place with the mysterious enchantment. Shili was very reluctant. He would rather have Tangua urge him to expand his territory every day. However, the secret of the beast tide could very well threaten the safety of Ma Ta country. He had no choice but to do so. This time, he opened the plan given to him by Tangua. After she left, he followed the plan step by step. The members of the Lado tribe, other than the little ones who could not transform into human form, had a total of more than 100 people, close to 200. After countless days of traveling, they finally found a place with beautiful scenery. This place seemed to be isolated from the rest of the world. They believed that Matagua would not be able to find this place. There were no other tribes here, so they settled down peacefully. With Ning Luo's various little tricks, they had a very smooth start. However, as time passed, it was inevitable that there would be friction in life. The 5 strong men couldn't bear to see Ning Luo suffer a loss. Ning Luo was the best, regardless of whether it was useful or not. Later on, Ning Luo had children. The first children were Vigos, then Gains, and then Mingjios. He Lang and Aimo couldn't sit still and had relationships with Ning Luo. Later on, they also had children. Aie couldn't get Gains, so she gave up. She found a decent warrior in the tribe to be her partner, and they also had children. The story started with this child. Aie's child and Ning Luo's child had a conflict. In the end, Ning Luo's child was stronger and pushed Aie's child into the water to drown. Chapter 705. After Ning Luo's child pushed Aie's child into the water and drowned, the entire tribe was shocked. Aie only had this one child, and she usually doted on him a lot. This child was especially smart, and she was counting on this child to be better than Ning Luo's children. She didn't expect him to drown before he reached the age of turning into a human. Aie's conflict with Ning Luo had been getting deeper and deeper. After this incident, she requested He Lang to uphold justice for her. No matter what, Ning Luo's child had to be punished and Ning Luo had to apologize to her. He had to kneel down and apologize to her and compensate her with food. Her child was dead, so these requests weren't excessive at all. She knew that it was impossible for Ning Luo's child to pay with his life. The biggest punishment was for Ning Luo to kneel down and apologize to her. However, she didn't expect Ning Luo's spouses to look at her as though they wanted to eat her up. It was as though she wanted Ning Luo's life. Vigo spoke first. We can compensate you with more food, but I don't think Luo Luo needs to kneel down and apologize to you. Luo Luo didn't do anything wrong. The child was mischievous and accidentally fell in. Luo Luo has no reason to kneel down and apologize to you, Gain said. I don't agree with Luo Luo kneeling down and apologizing either. She didn't do anything wrong. AIE, don't go overboard. AIE looked at Hei Lang, hoping that he could uphold justice. However, Hei Lang said, you can have as much food as you want. Luo Luo didn't do anything wrong. It's just that the children from both families were playing around and accidentally died. Brother, what about you? AIE was on the verge of breaking down. Her eyes were red as she looked at Aimo, her biological brother. She glanced at the little brat hiding behind Aimo. He looked just like Aimo. This was the child of Ning Luo and her biological brother, Aimo, who had pushed her brat into the water and drowned him. Looking at Aimo's silent expression, she understood. AIE, the children were playful, so we'll compensate you with more food. It's going to be winter soon. Once winter is over, you'll have many children. Don't make things difficult for Luo Luo. Aimo. AIE shouted. She broke down and said, what would you do if it was your child who died? Aimo didn't say anything. If it was his child, he would definitely kill the bastard in front of him. Seeing Aimo's fierce gaze, he hurriedly hugged the tiger cub in an attempt to comfort him. He wouldn't let AIE hurt his and Luoluo's child. Luoluo's child. Luo. Luo Luo. That tiger cub was usually more mischievous. If Ning Luo had cared more and not been so indulgent, such a thing would not have happened. S.A. Chapter 706. When AIE saw this scene, she couldn't help but recall the scene many years ago when Olga blamed them and Yinyao left. At this moment, she finally understood how sad Olga and Yinyao felt when they left. Unfortunately, she had once been a participant, one of them. Could this be retribution? What else could AIE do in the face of all the tribe members' agreement? From a victim, she almost became the one who bullied Ning Luo. She got a lot of food, she also got the animal skins that she used to envy Ning Luo. But she lost her only child, and she didn't get the most sincere apology. In the next few days, the tribe members kept an eye on AIE, probably because they were warned by Ning Luo and the others. They were afraid that she would do something stupid. After about half a month, AIE didn't do anything. Instead, she was the same as before. Some people tried to joke with her that they would give birth to cubs tomorrow, and she actually smiled and said yes. One time, a tribe member went out to hunt. AIE smiled and found Ning Luo's cubs who were still playing. When no one was paying attention, she turned into her original form and grabbed little Huzi with her mouth and two more with her claws. Amidst the tribe members' screams, she rushed to the long river and jumped in without hesitation. The three cubs were pressed down by her and couldn't break free at all. When they died, she didn't resist and just sank into the water, letting herself be drowned. She couldn't deal with Ning Luo, so she could only be a beast. Who told her to not be fair? Later, Ning Luo and her spouse came back and found the 3 cubs and Ai Yi's dead bodies. Ning Luo held a big knife in grief and chopped Ai Yi's body into meat paste. She looked crazy and scary. The tribe members had never seen this side of Ning Luo, but her spouse thought that she should vent her anger. Those things happened a long time later. At this time, Tenghua and Yin Yao had passed through countless forests. After a few months, they finally arrived at the place with the enchantment. Almost as soon as she saw the enchantment, Tenghua was sure that it was man-made. "Agwagwa, do you want to go there?" Yin Yao saw through Tenghua's thoughts and asked. "We have to go there." "Yao, are you scared?" Hearing this, Yin Yao smiled and held Tenghua's hand tightly. "As long as Agwagwa is by my side, I'm not afraid to go anywhere." He was not afraid of death, but he was afraid that he would not be able to see her again if he died. After all, he was only afraid of losing Agwagwa. "Let's go then." Tenghua ordered the other warriors to guard the place while Yin Yao held her hand. The 2 of them passed through the barrier together. The moment they passed through the barrier, Tenghua felt a mysterious power rushing towards her. Although it was very small, it was indeed a mysterious power that existed between heaven and earth. Could it be that the barrier blocked the mysterious power? Tenghua communicated with the system. "Why did you set up such a barrier?" "Host, I have scanned the area, and there are people appearing in the places that I can scan." "Human?" "Yes, humans, wearing clothes." They weren't beast men, they were humans. They were humans who knew martial arts but couldn't cultivate the mysterious power. "I've scanned their bodies, and there's no such mysterious power in them. Furthermore, I've discovered that the mysterious power between heaven and earth is gradually decreasing." Chapter 707. Tenghua originally wanted to communicate with the system, but she suddenly felt that something was wrong with Yin Yao. She felt that Yin Yao's body was very hot. "Yao. Agwagwa, I'm fine. I just feel that a mysterious power is awakening in my body. Other than my body being a little hot, I feel very comfortable." Yin Yao's tone was very relaxed. Tenghua believed him. She felt that mysterious power appeared in Yin Yao's body. Could it be that the mysterious power between heaven and earth only existed for the beastmen? If that was the case, she might have some understanding of the existence of the barrier. Humans could not cultivate this mysterious power, but the beastmen could. The beastmen themselves were very strong, and they could cultivate this mysterious power. This was a huge threat to humans. There were many humans, and they were smart. It was easy for them to plot against the beastmen who were few in number. Now, they had to confirm whether the beastmen were driven into the barrier, or those people pulled the mysterious power out of the beastmen's place. Tenghua brought Yin Yao to a secret place. Yin Yao did not resist. He felt that the mysterious power in his body would bring him endless benefits. He sat quietly at the side and felt this power. Tenghua and the system carefully observed his body. They realized that the mysterious power was reshaping Yin Yao's meridians. Yin Yao's meridians were becoming more and more perfect, and his aura was also becoming stronger. "Dear host, Yin Yao's aura is already stronger than the person I scanned earlier. This growth speed is really terrifying. It's not surprising that the beastmen would be driven to that place." Tenghua also thought so. The beastmen were still more simple-minded than humans. Humans were too cunning. They would be easily tricked by a little conspiracy. Moreover, the annual beast tide was probably calculated by the people here. It was to completely exterminate the beastmen. They did not dare to pass through the barrier at all. They were afraid that the beastmen would find their traces. One day, they would find this barrier that could only isolate the mysterious power. By then, the beast men would instantly increase their strength like Yin Yao. At that time, even if the beast men were few in number, humans would not be able to defeat them. Of course, she was not interested in this at all. She was also not interested in saving the beast men. However, she was still more interested in increasing the strength of the orcs. As for the hatred between the orcs and humans, they would settle it themselves after she left this world. About half a day later, the redness on Yin Yao's face faded and he returned to normal. He felt the strength in his body. He punched the stone wall and easily punched a hole in it. He was stunned for a moment. Clearly, he was surprised by his own strength. With his current strength, there was no need for him to be afraid of the beast horde. He dared to say that he could easily deal with 100 of them. Agwagwa, I want to find out the truth. Yin Yao was still brooding over the beast tide. He would not be satisfied if he did not find out the cause and effect. He also wanted to know if his father was still alive. Tangua smiled at him. Let's go then, but we need to observe our surroundings. Yin Yao thought it was reasonable. Tangua purposely led Yin Yao to a place with people. The two of them quietly hid at the side and observed those people. They are different from us beast men. Very weak. Tangua almost spat out. Facing the current Yin Yao, the other party was indeed weak. Chapter 708. The clothes they're wearing are a bit like what Ning Luo was wearing. Yin Yao narrowed his eyes. Could it be that Ning Luo came from here? But it doesn't seem like it. If Ning Luo came from here, he should have come back. Yao, let's take their clothes and put them on later. Then no one will suspect us if we blend in. Yin Yao smiled. He held Tangua's face and kissed it. Agua is really smart. I just thought of this. Orcs didn't transform into their original forms. They looked similar to humans, at most a little stronger. But with Tangua's current slender and fair appearance, no one would think that they were orcs if they put on human clothes. Yin Yao was the same. He looked different from ordinary orcs. He looked slender and not burly. If he put on a human robe, he would definitely look tall and handsome. The two waited for an opportunity. Yin Yao went to take the clothes and put them on. Then they blended into the crowd. Basically, no one would suspect that they were orcs. Moreover, many people would look at Tangua, this beautiful little girl, which made Yin Yao feel very uncomfortable. In the end, he had to hold her hand and walk away. Only then did the others stop looking at them. This time, they stayed in the human world for almost 3 years. Yin Yao was already very smart. With Tangua, this old fox, inadvertently guiding him, he quickly figured out the situation of the human world. After figuring it out, Yin Yao didn't plan to go back immediately. Instead, he began to learn various human skills. If he didn't know how to do it, he would write it down on paper. He also planned to bring some paper and pen back when he went back. He would use them to record some things. They also figured out the problem of the enchantment. This wasn't a secret in the human world. This was something that happened many years ago. At that time, orcs and humans existed in the same place. Orcs were powerful, but they weren't as smart as humans. The two were evenly matched. They each had their own world and lived in peace. But there was no lack of greedy humans. They wanted to rule the orcs and make them their slaves. They came up with all kinds of strange ways. In the end, they angered the orcs. The orcs finally decided to attack the humans. That time, the humans suffered heavy losses and the orcs won. The orcs were indeed not qualified to rule. Under the calculations of the humans, there were all kinds of internal conflicts. Then, a half-orc appeared. He was biased towards the humans. He had ambitions, but he didn't want to rule these barbaric orcs. He decided to drive them to the wasteland and let them fend for themselves. He knew the orcs' weakness. Without the mysterious power of heaven and earth, the orcs couldn't use their strength. After many years of research, he created a barrier that could isolate the mysterious power. He planned to drive the beastmen to the wasteland, but he was afraid that the beastmen would come back, so he arranged a beast tide every year, causing the beastmen to die every year. Of course, he hoped that the beastmen would be wiped out, but with the situation at that time, it was impossible. The first generation of beastmen was still very powerful, and he could only slowly weaken their bloodline. Every time they fled, they would lose a piece of history. And because of that genius half-orc, the beast tide still existed today. These beasts weren't real beasts. They were beasts that were reared by every family in the human world. When the time came, they would feed them a kind of herb. After eating it, they could find the orcs by following the smell. Chapter 709. The herbs would only last for about half a month before they would return the way they came from. On the 10th day of familiarizing themselves with the place, Tanguo and Yin Yao brought the 100 warriors in as well. They had them change into human clothes and gave them a series of instructions before bringing them to a secret place to awaken their powers. After Tanguo's research, the mysterious power between heaven and earth could only communicate with the power in the beastman's bloodline. When the beastman's bloodline awakened, the talent in their bloodline would be their power. If they were talented, they would be powerful. If they were not talented, they would not be powerful. Yin Yao belonged to the category of those who were especially talented. The 100 warriors they brought with them were all carefully selected by Shili. Naturally, they were talented. Almost immediately after entering the barrier, they felt the awakening of their powers. That beastman genius had already died many years ago. As for why this mysterious power disappeared, Tanguo was not interested to know. She only knew that it would be easier to develop Mata Kingdom and unify the beastmen world now. In order to prevent this place from being discovered by Ning Luo's spouses, after the 100 warriors awakened their powers, she sent a portion of them back to tell King Shili about this place. She asked King Shili to send warriors to conquer all the countries and tribes around the barrier. Then, she sent warriors to guard the barrier. As for the annual beast tide, it was not enough to deal with the beastmen who had awakened their powers. Then are we just going to let those beasts rush in? This was King Shili's reply. The beasts had taken the medicine and became crazy. They would definitely destroy the houses they built and bring trouble to them. For this, Tanguo also sent a letter back to King Shili. The letter said, "Let a portion of them in." They would not dare to attack the beastmen who had awakened their powers. However, they would still attack the beastmen who had not awakened their powers. King Shili should think about sending more beastmen to awaken their powers and strengthen Mata Kingdom. As for the other portion of the beasts, King Shili is really worrying too much. The warrior's appetite is not small. Don't you think that we can save a lot of money by sending food every year? Yin Yao saw what Tanguo wrote with his own eyes. He couldn't help but praise her happily. Agua is really smart. Aren't wild beasts meant to be eaten? After King Siri received the letter and read it, he slapped his thigh and shouted, "There really isn't any problem that can't be solved with food. Lady Guagua is indeed very resourceful. My Mata Kingdom's warriors don't have to worry about meat anymore." After dealing with all these, it was time for Tanguo and Yin Yao to lead dozens of warriors to study in the crowd for more than 3 years. They had to learn everything that humans knew. Even if they didn't know anything, they had to get their hands on it and study it slowly. Unbeknownst to the humans, there was a group of beastmen who knew what they knew. No, it should be said that this group of beastmen recovered their past history. Tangwa didn't care about these things, but the development of the beast men was her goal. Don't forget, she had a big move to take revenge. Every time Yinyao thought of this, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. If one day someone asked his Igwogwo why she wanted to help Cyril unify the Orc Kingdom, his Igwogwo would definitely say that it was revenge. Others would then ask, how strong was Igwogwo's enemy? In the end, they would find out that it was a tribe hiding in the deep forest. Who knew how many people would laugh to death? Chapter 7:10. The Orc warriors by Tangwa and Yinyao's side would be replaced every month. Now, King Siri had already occupied the area around the barrier. Outside the barrier, he had even built a tall city wall. They would close the city gates until the beast tide arrived. When the beast tide arrived, they would let some of the beasts out. The other beasts would fall into the traps they had set in advance. They would not touch the beasts that returned, in case the humans found out something was wrong and stopped feeding them. These were all suggested by Tangwa. The orcs who heard it were all speechless. They swore in their hearts that they could offend anyone but Igwogwo. She was really too vengeful. Her way of revenge was really to poke people's hearts. The more they cried out in pain, the happier she would be. Mada Kingdom's territory was still expanding. Because of the new things brought by the humans, Mada Kingdom's development was very fast. Those small countries and tribes could not resist Mada Kingdom's attack at all. They only needed to show their sharp weapons to occupy a small tribe. They only needed a day to occupy a small country. Wherever Mada Kingdom went, that was their territory. After 5 years, Mada Kingdom had unified the orc world. Only a few small tribes were left hiding in the forest. Ning Luo and her spouses were hiding in a deep place, living a life isolated from the world. They were also afraid that Mada Kingdom would take revenge on them, so they never planned to go out. So, they did not know about the changes in the outside world. They also did not know that Mada Kingdom had already started to divide the forest. The place they were hiding in would be discovered by Mada Kingdom sooner or later. Lady Igwogwo, the king said that there should be only one big forest left. There were no traces of them in the other forests. They are very likely hiding in that big forest. The king said that he was afraid of disturbing them, so he did not let anyone in. Instead, he asked me to talk to you first. Tangwa had lived in the human world for 5 years. She preferred to live in the human world. Yinyao also wanted to find his father, so he had been in the human world all this time. In actuality, the Mada Beastman Kingdom cities were almost the same as those in the human world. Moreover, the Beastmen had great power, and their buildings were even more perfect and sturdy than those in the human world. Nowadays, the Beastmen in Mada were very excited when they heard about the annual Beast Wave. During those few days, they would be able to eat meat every day. They wouldn't have to worry about not having enough to eat. Tell the king to build a high wall around the forest. Also, make it clear that it belongs to the Mada Kingdom. Without permission, it doesn't belong to the Mada Kingdom. No one is allowed to enter. At this point, she narrowed her eyes and smiled. I think that the orcs of Mada should create an identity card that belongs to us, in case some small tribe members from deep in the mountains sneak in. If they are willing to join the Mada Kingdom, I will create an identity card for them. Except for the person from the forest, you can tell the king that. He will understand. After the messenger left, Tangwa laughed happily. Yinyao held her face helplessly. Are you that happy? That's right, we'll get our revenge soon. Tangwa looked at Yinyao with smiling eyes. Do you think I'm being unreasonable? Chapter 7:11. No, Yinyao quickly said, afraid that she would be sad. King Larry was very cruel in the past. If Agwagwa wasn't so smart, you would have been exposed long ago. He wouldn't have let you go. Those who went against his wishes and lied to him, no matter if they were male or female, would end up in a miserable state. So, Agwagwa, you didn't cause trouble for no reason. It was the members of the Lajuo tribe who were ungrateful. You weren't the one who brought the danger to the Lajuo tribe, but they wanted you to bear the pain that you shouldn't have. Whatever punishment they will bear in the future, that's what they should bear. If Ning Luo didn't have her spouse to protect her, the members of the Lajuo tribe might have wanted to hand her over. Tangua couldn't help but laugh. A Yao is very clear about this. No matter if it's humans or orcs, they all bully the weak and fear the strong. Bullying Ning Luo means offending the strong warriors and the tribe leader. At that time, Agwagwa was alone. Yin Yao hugged Tangua and asked, "When are you going back to Mata, Agwagwa? Have you looked for your father?" Yin Yao shook his head. "I'm not looking for him anymore. We've searched the entire human world for the past 5 years, but we couldn't find him. If he's still alive, he'll come back one day. If he's long gone, there's no point in looking for him anymore. The secret of the beast tide has been solved. The orcs are no longer afraid of the beast tide. The mysterious power of the human world is almost gone. The warriors of Mata have basically all awakened. As for what will happen in the future, I don't care. I just want to be with Agwagwa from now on. I only want you in my eyes and heart. I don't have time to care about anything else." "Okay," Tangua replied. This guy was really good at saying sweet nothings. She didn't get tired of it. It was quite comfortable to listen to. "I want to go back to Mata too. Let's live outside that big forest. Let's ask Shili to build a tall pavilion. We'll go to the pavilion to look at the scenery after dinner every day." Yin Yao touched the back of her head and couldn't help but smile. "As you wish. I'll do as you wish. How do you want to play? I'll accompany you to the end." Who asked her to already live in his heart? When Siri heard that Tangua wanted a tall pavilion that could overlook the entire forest, he ordered the people of Mata country to build a tall and beautiful pavilion. The warriors of Mata country all volunteered themselves and expressed their willingness to build the tallest and most beautiful pavilion for Master Agwagwa. It was all thanks to Agwagwa that they could have such a wonderful life today, live in a beautiful house, wear nice and comfortable clothes, and awaken great powers. When they heard that she only wanted a tall pavilion, they all thought that she was too selfless. They had to do everything in their power to build her the tallest, most beautiful, and most sturdy pavilion. The decision of the warriors was made very quickly. The construction began the next day. The pavilion was built on the edge of the city wall. They could see the entire forest at a glance. They had also specially measured the best location. The orcs should be very fast in building. Under normal circumstances, it could be built in 1 to 3 months. However, they spent a year to build this pavilion. Tangua didn't rush them. When the pavilion was ready to be used, she looked at the pavilion in surprise. It was really tall. The patterns on the walls were also very beautiful. Every brick and tile was built with great care. It could be said that there was no flaw. Chapter 7:12. She liked it very much and was very grateful to them for a while. For this reason, she took out many good recipes and gave them to them. These beast men did not have any other hobbies, but they loved to eat. When they were free, they would secretly go to the human world to learn how to cook. They even brought back the spices and seeds from there. After that, Tangua moved into the pavilion. When she had nothing to do, she would sit on the pavilion and eat sunflower seeds and dried fruits while looking at the scenery in the distance. Actually, with the forest blocking her view, she could not see what was inside unless the people inside walked out. But she was quite happy just looking at it like that. In the blink of an eye, another 10 years had passed. The beastmen of Mata country were very curious. Was the forest really that beautiful? Why else would their Mata country's Lady Ogwugwo like to sit on the tall pavilion after every meal and look into the distance with a smile on her face? This special hobby became an unsolved mystery in Mata country. The beast tide is coming again, right? One day, Tangwa sat on the pavilion and looked into the distance. They really don't plan to come out. The former King Larry's cruelty left a deep impression on people. But they don't have to hide for 16 years. They do. Yinyao smiled and squatted beside Tangwa. He held her hand. Don't worry, they will come out eventually. I'm not worried. I'm worried for them. If they keep hiding inside, they will eat up the entire mountain. Then, they will realize that it's Mata country's territory outside. Where do you think they will go? Will they only be able to eat tree roots in the future? Once they finish eating the tree roots, they will only be able to eat soil. Lady Ogwugwa, the beast tide is coming again. The warriors below shouted. Do you want to go and eat meat this year? They invited her warmly. The taste of their meat was getting better and better. Tangwa smiled and replied. No, just eat well. Remember, don't eat up all the beasts. Bring some over. Understood, Lady Ogwugwa. They did not understand why, but they did as Lady Ogwugwa said. 2 days later, the beast tide finally came. Tangwa had been eating and drinking on the top floor of the pavilion recently. She looked at the forest without blinking and saw the beasts rushing in with her own eyes. She held her chin in anticipation. Would they come out this year? Ogwugwa, you're so free. Olga walked up and shook her head. She swayed in front of Tangwa. Look at my new dress. Mick bought it for me. And the necklace and bracelet. Mick bought them for me. After saying that, she pulled the little girl behind her. Look at my little daughter. Isn't she dressed beautifully today? Tangwa glanced at the boy who was dressed up as a little girl and chuckled. Your son is going to be ruined by you. It's my daughter, my daughter. Olga said in annoyance. He gave birth to 5 sons. Whose family is he? As long as he doesn't give birth to a girl, he'll be a girl. The boy was so scared that he hurriedly ran behind Tangwa. Aunt Ogwa, help. Olga, you're too harsh. You really don't blame little Angie for not having a daughter. Olga pursed her lips and did not refute. All right, Angie. Go back and change out of your dress. Angie heaved a sigh of relief. She cast a grateful look at Tangwa and ran away. Will they come out? Olga sat beside Tangwa with a smile on her face. I really want to see them. That bunch of ungrateful people. Chapter 7:13. Ogwugwa, I had a scary dream last night. Everything that happened in the dream was different from now. Matagwa didn't unify the orc world. That was a nightmare, Olga said calmly. Olga said calmly, but her heart was not calm at all, because that dream was really too scary. It was so scary that she didn't want to remember it. What dream? Tangwa asked with a smile. Actually, she had guessed that such a thing would happen. Speaking of which, even if she lived as a Ogwugwa for a lifetime, it still wasn't a Ogwugwa's lifetime. I don't want to remember. That dream was very scary. Olga smiled. I'd better not tell you. Then don't tell me. Olga nodded. Her fingers were trembling. Her gaze towards the forest was filled with hatred. Finally, she looked at Tangwa beside her. She lowered her head and smiled. That was just a dream, right? It didn't really happen. Now, they were all doing well. Agwagwa had Inyao. She had Mikamil and her 5 children. Matagwa was very powerful. Agwagwa was the sage of Matagwa. Inyao was the grand tutor. Her Mikamil and Mikamil were the best merchants in Matagwa. She laughed. She seemed to be the spouse of a merchant and Agwagwa's good friend. After 3 days, there was movement in the forest. Tangwa and Olga immediately sat up straight and looked towards the forest. Inyao, Mikamil and the 5 children all shook their heads. It was like this every year. However, it was a little different this time. In the forest, a large group of people walked out. They looked very haggard. Their bodies were wrapped in animal skins and they didn't look very good. Even though more than 10 years had passed, they could still recognize these people at a glance. Among them, Ning Luo was carried by a strong male. She didn't look very young anymore. Her skin was no longer white and smooth. It was even a little loose. The originally handsome males now had many scars on their bodies. The hideous scars looked really terrifying. Beside them, there were some half-grown children. After counting carefully, there were more than 10 of them. From their faces, they could be sure that they were the offspring of Ning Luo's spouses. Other than them, there were also some new faces among the original members of the Lado tribe. There were fewer old faces. Olga looked at the group of people standing outside the city gate, looking helpless and confused. She couldn't help but laugh out loud. I thought they would have some kind of reaction. So it's just like that. She recognized Gaines. His body was still as strong and burly as before, but he was also old. His brows were deeply furrowed, and even when they were open, there were deep wrinkles. This was caused by constant frowning. It was obvious that they were not doing well. Then, she would be happy. Mick, I need a clear mirror. Mill hurriedly presented a mirror to her. Chapter 7:14. Why don't we go back to the forest? Gain hesitated for a moment before saying. Vigo shook his head, there's nothing left in the forest. We need to find another safe place. But in front of us is the city wall of Ma Ta country. What if someone recognizes Luo Luo? AIMO said worriedly. Hei Lang said, let's go look at other places. It can't be that every place is the city wall of Ma Ta country. If we go back to the forest, there's no food or water. We'll starve to death. We can't deal with the beasts that come every year. After so many years, the king of Ma Ta country should have forgotten what happened back then. I think this city wall isn't normal. The city gate is also open. Why don't we try to go over and take a look? Ming Jiao said. He had never seen such a tall, sturdy, and beautiful building. He was very curious about what had happened outside all these years. Ming Jiao, you go and take a look. We'll find another way. When the time comes, we'll meet here. Tangua had the help of the system, so she was able to eavesdrop on their conversation. She couldn't help but smile. Hei Lang was right, outside of this forest, everything else belonged to Matagua. She wondered if he would be pleasantly surprised when he found out. She had a flash of inspiration and had a very interesting idea. She summoned a warrior and said, when they want to come in together later, do you see that woman? Tell the 5 men that if they want to go in, they're not allowed to bring that woman. Tell the woman that if she wants to go in, she has to give up her 5 spouses and her children. Ask her children if they want to go in, they have to give up all their siblings and parents. In short, tell everyone that they can only go in if they give up their loved ones. Master Agwagwa means that if they're willing to give up their loved ones, we'll let them in. Yes. Tangua smiled and said, if they say they're not willing, let them go outside and tell them again. They only have 2 chances to say their answer and they have to say it loudly. Understood, Master Agwagwa. Yinyao glanced at Tangwa. Tangwa only smiled and said, yes, I'm taking revenge. Yinyao touched her forehead and chuckled, I know, Agwagwa means revenge. Yao, believe it or not, they will all go in eventually. Yinyao was a little uncertain, but Olga said with certainty, they definitely won't lose a second chance. Agwagwa, you're really something. This revenge is good. Miku and Mil had long since noticed that something was wrong with Olga. It seemed that her hatred for the Lado tribe had deepened. When Mingjiu reached the city gate, he stated that he wanted to enter. The guard followed Tangwa's instructions and asked, who are they to you? My family. I see. There is a rule in Mada. If you want to come in, you have to give up the people behind you before you can enter. You have 2 chances to choose. This is your first chance. Mingjiu chose to turn around and leave, explaining the situation to the others. The others also looked around and found that they were surrounded by tall city walls, all of which belonged to Matagwa. They felt that something was wrong. I won't abandon Luoluo and my children. Me neither. The few of them expressed their opinions one after another, but the other members of the Lado tribe had already started to waver. The first person wavered on that day. He expressed that he was willing to cut off all ties with the people behind him and asked them to let him enter the city. He had really had enough of the days in the deep forest, as well as the bullying of Ning Luo's 5 spouses and the mischievous children of Ning Luo. They were really annoying. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.